Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Bava Metzia, daf Chaf Dalid. We're going to begin on Chaf Dalid about 8 lines from the top. Tanya. Mod Rav Shimon ben Elazar. Rav Shimon ben Elazar agrees, B'kelim Chadashim, regarding, as we saw in yesterday's daf, new vessels. But these are Shisavasan Ha'ayin. Literally, the eye has been satiated, which means these are used items that you've seen a bunch of times, shechayev l'hachris, that you would still need to announce them. Because since it's savasan ayin, since the eye has been satiated with them, in other words, it's been used already, so therefore, because of that, you have to announce that people will not be miyash. These are some that you would not have to announce. Badai mechatin v'tzinoirios. If you're dealing with these small needles or small forks, umachroizes shel kardumois. If, let's say, strings of axes, kol el she'amru. So all of these in which we just mentioned, imosem mutarin. So when are you allowed to keep them? Bizman shimotzon echad echad. If you find them one by one, they're all like separate. But let's say you found a couple of them, then you would have to, and Rashi points out, because as we mentioned yesterday's daf, that minyan havi siman, because people can tell you how many you found, and that would work. So my body soiche, v'mai karile bade. So what exactly is this? And why they call this? So it's the davar the talube midi. It's referring to something that used to hang. Bad karile. It's called a bad. Yehudit nan hasam o echad bevad echad. When it came to the dinim of sukkah, as Rashi tells us, gabi arava, when it comes to the willow branch, for it to remain kosher for the arba minim, shenishru mixas aleha, some of the leaves already came off. However, the shtairu ba shlosh olin, 3 moist leaves, shlosh olin lachin, v'ikad yarmi afil ol echad, bivad echad, kshera, even one is enough, bivad echad, like with attached to one stem. So that's what it means. Bad is something which is toila to the other. Someone who is saved from a lion, min a dove, from a bear, min a number, from a leopard, min a bardalus. It's questionable exactly what that is. Rashi says, Savoa, derech lahar gavazim, tarnagoyim. It's some type of animal that kills birds. Umin zuta shayam, person who is saved from the waters. Umin shaluli yaisav shal nahar, or from the overflow of a river. Hamaitzi bisratia uplatia, one who finds something in which is on the highway. Uplatin gadayla v'chol makam shaharab matzum sham, a place where there's a lot of people there. And Rashi says, even if there is a siman on it, you can still keep him because there's so many people. There's a good chance that someone's going to have picked it up. Someone who is not so righteous, even though I had a siman on it, but probably it's gone. Probably someone who is not so meticulous in mitzvos may have found it and kept it for themselves, and therefore, even though you are meticulous in keeping mitzvos and you found it, we can assume that he was miyash. You don't have to do anything. Iboilhu. Kinkar Rav Shimon, when Rav Shimon said that there's yish, even though there's a siman, Kinkar Rav Shimon Elazar b'roiv kanainim, is it only because there's so many kanainim around that there's a good chance that they're the ones that picked it up, so it was miyash? Or Rav Yisrael, Rav Yisrael lo, don't feel Rav Yisrael nami, Amar. Maybe even if it's a place where there's a lot of Jews, and maybe in that situation you would think, maybe an Ayel Chayid picked it up, going Basaro, so I'm not miyash. Intim Salam Rafil Rav Yisrael Nami Yamar, that we could be miyash even if there's the majority of Yisrael. Pligi Rabban Alehel or lo pligi? Do they argue with him? V'im Tim Salam Pligi. If you want to tell me they do argue, but Rabbi Yisrael Vade pligi, Certainly they would argue by Rabbi Yisrael, but Rov Kanainim pligi or lo pligi. Maybe they don't argue when it comes to Rov Kanainim. Maybe Rov Kanainim they agree that you can keep it. Vimtim solemer pligi feel Rov Kanainim. Maybe they argue there too. So halacha kamoso ain't halacha kamoso. What's the halacha? Who's the halacha like? Vimtim so halacha kamoso. Daf Rov Kanainim or feel Rov Yisrael. So when is the halacha like whom? And so there's a whole bunch of questions. Tashma. Let's say you find money in a shul or a base medrash, and Rashi points out that if you found it there, stam bat knesses Yisrael behen, right? Most of the people that are in a shul are Jews, so it's a case of Rov Yisrael. It still says you can keep it mishabal mesayishim behen. So man shamet le de ozubasaruba. Rabbi Shimon Eliezer, he's the one who mentions this whole rove business. Clearly, he's of the opinion, even if the majority are Yisrael, also you get to keep it. Because if he mentions the example of a Beis HaKnesses and a Beis Medrash, that's a place where there's Rov Yisrael. And nonetheless, he's still Mi'ash, you can keep it. Now, Hakamai Skinan, b'mufuzarin. We're talking about where it's spread out. It says Rashi, Rabbanan, he, demoidim b'mufuzarin, did not moisim b'mufuzarin helu shalo. Because even if it's money, which maybe was stacked, that's one thing, but it's spread out all over the place, it doesn't have a siman. So even if Vazarim, my area makam sharab masuyim sham, I feel ain't a rab masuyim sham. It shouldn't make any difference. If it's spread out money, it's always considered to be yish because there's no siman on it. El olam b'sirurin, or b'siburin, it says on the side. We're talking about where it's all close together. So therefore, there is a siman. So if that's the case, why do we distinguish? So we're talking about a Beis HaKnesses, like a temple of Canaanim, says Rashi. So that's it. So therefore, it's only because it's Rov Canaanim that you can keep it. Maybe Rabbi Yisrael you can't. But the Midrasha is Michael Mamor. Okay, fine. They have temples. They don't have a base medrash. So no, but the Midrash is Didan. You're right. It is talking about our base medrash, the Yasavuhu Kanainim. However, we have a lot of Kanainim that are sitting around. Says Rashi Shein Chutzla, they're outside. Umoshivin ba Kanainim Lishmor. They're like security guards. So there's tons of security, non-Jewish police officers, security guards all around who are Kanainim. So therefore, still, even if it's Rov Yisrael inside the shul, but outside it's not, and therefore you're going to be miyayish that maybe one of these people picked it up. So Kananim. You can say the same thing by Beis HaKnesses. So we don't really have an answer when he says this. Okay. Tashma, Motzabah Aveda. You find a lost object. Imr of Yisrael, the majority of people in that city, that area, are Yidin l'chayv l'hachros, because they didn't give up hope. Imr of Kanainim in chayv l'hachros. So man shaman l'hadiyam raslin basaruba, shaman l'lezer. So what do we see? He makes a distinction. Shema Minah, Ki Kamishim Lezer. When does he say you can keep it? It's only Rav Kananim. Because you're Miyash. Elbow Rav Yisrael lo. So Hamani Rabbanan he. No, it's really like the Rabbanan. So it's not a raya that Rav Shimon Lezer makes a distinction between Rav Kananim and Rav Yisrael. Talking about the Rabbanan. 1 second. We had a question about the Rabbanan too. So Tivshimi na. So then we should answer the Maidel Rabbanan Rav Lezer Rav Shimon Lezer Rav Kanainim. That now we see that at least he agrees. The Rabbanan agree by Rav Kananim that you can keep it then. El Olam Rav Shimon Lezer. So therefore, again we make a distinction. No, but feel Rav Yisrael Nami. It doesn't make a difference. It's not dafka by Rav Kananim, even in the event where it's Rav Yisraelim. So what are you talking about? That's not what it says. It says Im Rav Yisrael Chayv L'Hachros, Im Rav Kananim Enu Chayv L'Hachros. So Hachmai Skinan B'Tamoin. But in this case, it's different because we're talking about b'tamoin. The Gimon Shetamnu is hidden. Lava Vedahi. It's not lost. Hilchach Yisrael Machris. So now it's possible maybe when it comes to a regular Veda, you can keep it. However, over here, when it's Rov Yisrael, the reason why you have to announce it is because it's b'tamoin. It wasn't lost. It was hidden. So if it was hidden, what's it doing? But non matzakli ba'ashba machusa. If you find in a garbage heap something covered up, lo yigimbo, don't touch it. Megula, if it's open, noito machers. So what do you understand? Like, what are you doing taking this thing? Obviously, if we're talking about Talmud, that person knows what it's there. It's a garbage heap that's not normally cleaned out, and they changed to clean it out. In other words, they suddenly decided to clean out this garbage dump. So it needs to be announced. It can't be just left there, right? If you weren't going to touch it, do anything to this garbage dump, then yeah, you should not touch it, because the guy, if it's batamoin, he obviously left it there on purpose, just hoping that no one would touch it. But over here, they're about to dump everything out and move all the garbage into some field. So you had to take it. And in that case, you had your chayv l'hachris, because obviously it belonged to someone. Because that's it. But a normal case of tamoin, again, you would just leave it there. Okay, so that's the answer. Question 9. Matzah aveda b'makam sh'roiv kananim. There's a lot of kananim. Im chayv l'hachris. Ve'im hari ilu shalo. Or you keep it. Rav Shimon ben Eliezer or the Rabbanon. Not so simple. So Rav Shimon ben Eliezer hari ilu shalo. Rabbanon in chayv l'hachris. V'safik he pli Rabbanon. V'savri de'enu shalo v'yaniach. Okay, so again, there was all those different questions. As we continue now to Chaf Daled and Beis. Really, this whole case is like the Rabbanon. We're talking about she'enu tamoin. It wasn't hidden; it was just regular, and therefore, the question is, maybe we could at least learn out from here that they agree by Rav Kananim that you can keep it. No, mikatani hein shalo. It doesn't say it's yours. It just says ein chayv l'hachris katani. It just says you don't have to announce it. Just don't touch it. Don't get involved. Let the Yisrael come and he'll give a simon and he'll be able to take it. And that's it. Okay. Tashma. Let's say you find a barrel of wine in the city. The majority of the people are Kanaanim, Sumutaros. Mishum Metzia. You're mutter as far as you're not obligated to announce anything. V'yasura b'hana. But you're not allowed to get any hana. And where it's going to say, so what is this whole heter about this thing that you're finding? Like, who cares? It's a mutter mishum metzia. You can't get it's also about hana. So what does that mean? But Yisrael v'nasal asim. And let's say Yisrael comes and shows that 100% it's his. Mutaris b'shtia. So the din is can drink it. L'moitza to the one who was found. So come on, Rav Shimon ben Eliezer, Shema Minaki, Rav Shimon ben Eliezer, Rav Kananim. The only time he said this is by Rav Kananim, of Rav Yisrael, well, because clearly we're talking about Rav Yisrael, and he was not miyayish, and therefore chayv l'hachris. Lo mem lo Rav Shimon ben Eliezer fil Rav Yisrael nami kaimer. You still get to keep it even then. Rav Asi said, "Well, kavasi b'chada pagam b'chada." She holds like him in one regard, and he disagrees with him in another regard. V'chim acher. So that's it. We're saying that this wine is also bahana. Muteres mishum metzia. Who cares? So Ravashi kankana, referring to the kankan, the barrel itself, or this jug. So at least you can keep the jug. You can't keep the wine, but you can keep the kankan. Hahugav is a story. The Ashkachar bezuze titzari b'tzedina. They found 4 zuz that were wrapped up in some type of handkerchief. V'shad b'nahar biran, and it was thrown. It was by this river Biran. Us coming to Rabbi Yehuda. Malay zil achris. You have to announce it. I have hazuta shel yamhu, but this is like the swept from the waters. And we said har shalo. No shani nahar biran kivan demiskel lo miyayish. So he says Rashi yeshbo michshayilim avanim ustimas gader. There's all these stones and fences she'oisim ladagim that are made for a fish. V'lo miyayish, people are miyayish over there. Several yuchel hanahar v'halichem chutz l'michshayilim. It's not able to go too far. So even though normally if something's swept away, we say Har Shalo. But in this situation, this Nahar Biron isn't able to cause any items to really go that far because of all the stones and fences in its way. So Shani Nahar Biron Kivan de Misko Miyash, Vaha Ruba Kananim Ninhu. But the majority of people are Kananim. Must be Shmamina Enoch Rav Shimon Melezer. Rav Kananim. The fact is, Rav Shimon Melezer says you can keep it. This guy, we just learned, said you have to announce it. And we're talking about a situation where it's Rav Kananim, apparently. No. Shani Nahar Biron the Yisrael Sachule Yisrael Karule. The truth is, but there's a chance that the Yisrael is one who blocked up the river, and the Yisrael dug it out. Kivan Yisrael Sachule Sachule, because there's a lot of Jews that are in that area that are involved in this process. Aimer, the one who lost it, will say Yisrael Nafal. It fell from a Yid. Kivan Yisrael Karule Lo Miyayish. So basically, the person is not going to be Miyayish because it's not necessarily a case of Rov Yisrael or Rov Kananim. It's not necessarily a raya or against Rabbi Shimon Melezer, but at least we're talking about a situation where there's a very good chance that the person who found it was a Yisrael, because they're the ones that are involved in the process of building these dams and the like in that area, and therefore that is the din. So even though maybe the rove of the city, okay, Rabbi Yehuda Havishakel the Azul Basu de Mar Shmuel Peshuka, so he was going behind Mar Shmuel in the marketplace, in the place called the Daisa. Amalei Matzah Khan Arniki Mahu. I found this money belt with all this cash in it. What's the din? So Amalei Hariel Shul, you can keep it. Bais over Dasalmas Simon Mahu. Let's say Yisrael gives a perfect simon. Amalei Chayvel Hachzer. You still have to give it. So Tarti, understand. You can keep it, but then afterwards you have to give it back. So Amalei Lifnim Mishra said din. The truth is that you don't really even have to give it back. But Lifnim Mishra said din. You should. So he found these donkeys, I believe it is, in the wilderness. And they returned it to their masters. After 12 months. That's because even though they were really hefker. Rav Havishaka Be'elzel Basur Rav Nachman B'Shuka the Gildoi. So he was following after him in this marketplace. Rashi says of Ratzonin, leathers, people who make leather. V'yarmula B'Shuka the Rabbanon. Okay, exactly what is a rabbi's marketplace? What if I find an arniki here? You can keep it. What if someone produces a simon? It doesn't matter. You still keep it. He's screaming, saying it's his. So nasikat soivech al beso shenafal. It's comparable to someone screaming over his house that fell, or a boat that sunk. The reality is, yeah, you could give it back. That's what Lifnei shows it in, but you don't have to. Hahu dayoi. Rashi says dayo is an oath. There's this bird. The shakel bisra b'shuka, took meat from a marketplace. Mishadi b'tzanyasa, and it threw it into this area, says Rashi, which is between date palm trees in the Bay Bar Marion. He said, go and take it for yourself. So what do you mean? If you're Rabbi Yisrael, so you shouldn't keep it for yourself. Maybe you have to announce it. And even so, you can keep it for yourself, even Rabbi Yisrael. No, Shani Diyai, these birds are different. Zutoi Shel Yamdami. It's comparable to, again, being swept away from the sea, and then it's hefker. Understand, how can you possibly eat this meat? It's basar stalmin ayin. If you were standing there and you saw everything transpire, so then it's mutter. Otherwise, you're right, you wouldn't be able to eat it. He found this goat that was slaughtered, and he mattered it to be eaten. He allowed it as far as you don't have to announce anything. Rabbi Shimon Melezer, Mishum Shchita Kermachanani B'no Shel Rabbi Yosef Goyo Desani. He learned that Harish Avdulu Gedoyov. Let's say someone lost his goat to return a goyla, but halach matzav shchutin, he found it shechted. Rabbi Yehuda Oiser, Rabbi Chanan ben Oshel, Rabbi Yosef Guli matir. Hitaka says that if you find it geshechted, so we say it's mutter. So probably the fact that it was shechted, probably the guy knows what he's doing, and therefore it's good. So I'm Rav Nirin de Rabbi Yehuda. I'll hold like Rabbi Yehuda that's aser kishematzim ba'ashba. It was thrown into the garbage heap, because that probably means that it's a treifa or nevela, because that's where they would put their nevelas. But Divrei Rabbi Chanan ben Noishel Rabbi Yosef Glili kishematzim bebayis. If it's in some house, then you can probably assume it is good. Mid hitiru lo mishum shchita. The fact that he said that he matters the shchita must be Rabbi Yisrael ninhu. Shema min halacha Rav Shimon Elazar feel Rabbi Yisrael that even Rabbi Yisrael you get to keep it. That's a riot. No, Rava no Rav Kanainim. So the only reason why he can keep it is because there's a majority of Kananim. However, V'roiv Tabach Yisrael. The reason why you could eat the meat is because there's Rov Tabachim. Most of the butchers, most of the sheikhim are Jews. However, it takes up Rov Kananim. So maybe though in the case of Rov Yisrael, you can have your chayv hachas. Rav Ami Yashkach Pargiois Shechutais. Rashi says Goizelois. These like little birds. He found them shechted. Ben Terelisi Para. Also committed Ravasi. Vermula. Some say it was committed Rav Yochanan. Vermula. Some say it was Ben Min Rasha. Vermula Zilshkol and Ashach. You can keep it for yourself. It's okay. You can eat it. Rav Yitzchak Navcha Ashchach Kibura. He found coil spun string. The Azle Be Azluye that is used by hunters. Also committed Rav Yochanan. Vermula. But Beimin Rasha, they said Zil Shkoil Nafshach that you can keep this for yourself. We're going to stop there. Maybe there's a question somewhere around here. That was it for question 9. TA 11. Matzah Achar Hagafa Gozlos Mksharis. Nothing. Question TB 11. Sibure Paris, Sibure Mois, Chav Hachras, Mao Simin. Adkan.